Hello, namaste. Welcome to our second lesson on Python course from basic to advanced. In our first lesson, we learnt about the history and evolution of computers, the fundamentals of programming, how the programming languages evolved, different languages like say assembly, high level, and why the compilers and interpreter exist. That sets a very good context on why programming came into place and then why programming is important. So in this lesson, we will get into Python because the main focus language for this course or this particular course is Python. So we'll know a little bit about history of Python and all. So in this lesson, the things that you can take away is get the brief understanding of history and why Python started, what problem it tried to solve. Second is how to figure out and where to start. I will teach it in a way that today it is Python, tomorrow it is Java. Maybe 5-10 years down the line, there is a new language that hasn't yet come yet, right? And programming languages will keep evolving and there will be new languages that will come. But as an engineer, how to learn these languages is what I'm going to teach you. So you will know by yourself, be it any language, where to start and how to set up. Then eventually we will write one small program that we will compile, we will run, and we'll also debug. So this is what we'll learn in this lesson. And if you're watching it on say YouTube and you have landed on this video, I will highly recommend you to check our first video. In that, a lot of context is given so that you get your head around why programming is needed and what actually we do in programming. And if you are on our LMS platform, definitely you would see that first lesson before this. So please go ahead and check that lesson. And don't forget to share these lessons with your friends who want to learn this language or master this language. So let's get started. Let's quickly take a look at the person who has gifted this beautiful language to all of us. Van is a person. He was using ABC language for teaching others how to code. So ABC is pretty much a language used in academic circle at that time to teach others how to learn how to do coding. So he is a Dutch programmer, and in one of the during a Christmas holiday, he wanted to do some creative work. So what he thought is, let me create a new language. So there are few glitches with ABC that he wanted to solve, few drawbacks in ABC that he wanted to solve. He wanted to make it way more open, way more easier and extensible. The reason he did that was he used to work somewhere where that ABC language, he wanted to make it more simpler and extensible, and always he would go to his bosses and say, I want to add this, I want to change it, and they would not allow it. They would say, no, it's very complicated, or this would confuse. So he was not having freedom to change that ABC language. And he has to go through that, organizational approvals and hierarchy to get permissions. So there was this bureaucratic hurdle, or you can say that, it's generally very difficult to change a programming language that often. And most of the programming languages at that time, they were tightly controlled by certain organizations. So he really also wanted to solve this problem by making it open source. Now, for people who are hearing this open source first time, for now, just understand that this is one where it is not sold for money. It is not privately owned, or it's not something that has an intellectual property where, it's secretly guarded. It is open, which is open means it is public. Anybody can read, write and contribute to that project. So that is what is open source. And the word source comes because of the source code. The program is called source code. So the source comes from that. The open and source is a combination of two words. So any software that you want to give it away for free and you want others to contribute, then it is made as open source. So he wanted to make it open source so that more people can come and contribute. And from the day one, he knew that it has to be a scripting based language or an interpreter based language, because in interpreter based language, setup and running is very simple. I have explained why it is simple in my first video. The compiled languages are complex because you have to know CPU type, number of bits, use that certain compiler. So you have a lot of overhead. In interpreter based languages, you don't have to worry about anything. You just have to install that interpreter and everything would work magically on your machine. So since his motive was for create a language which is easy, which is extensible, which is open source, and easy for the students who are learning programming, so he went with natural choice of making it an interpreter based language. So you can go and read about him, more about him on Wikipedia. One of the thing which is heartening for me to hear is now he is at Microsoft. So he is a technical fellow at Microsoft, joined Microsoft in 2020. A technical fellow is a highest designation given to an individual contributor at Microsoft. So we have probably Microsoft may be having now around 30 or for less than 30 40 technical fellows. These are the people with industrial experience of more than 25-30 years. Many of them are either nearing their retirement age or they have already crossed retirement age, but still they have passion for technology. So these leaders, they have a direct access to the CVPs and CEOs. Like that, I have talked to some of the technical fellows in Microsoft, and was part of the meetings where they were interviewed or they were explaining. So this is a highest honor or highest position that an individual contributor can get to Microsoft, and I'm very humbled and happy to know that he's at Microsoft and he's working as a distinguished engineer in Microsoft. Now, why I had to tell you about this? See, we are going to use Python, say, for next 30 days, and we need to thank the man behind it, the leader behind it. So I think we should all thank this gentleman who has gifted this beautiful programming language to all of us. Of course, the Wikipedia is showing Google t-shirt here because he also worked at Google for some time. See, whenever you are trying to learn a programming language, just don't blindly, start learning it. You try to understand the history, the person or the team behind it, and also what were the reasons or problems they were trying to solve. I explained in my first video that many languages got selected, and if you go and search in, say, ChatGPT or any search engine, you know that in the world now we have thousands of languages. Okay, some data says we are now 4,000, some data says 5,000. We don't know the accurate number because nobody really went ahead and counted all of them. But every new language that came was trying to solve some problem that its predecessors had, the previous languages had. So in this particular context, the Python language, when was created by Mr. Kaido, he was trying to make it simple, remove the boilerplate code. What does boilerplate code means? A lot of programming language have these unnecessary syntaxes that they write again and again. And that is really, he was not liking it. For example, in C programming, in many languages, you have to write data type, int, char, float. In Python, he really got rid of all of that. In C, there are many places you have to write semicolon. He completely got rid of that kind of requirement. He reduced the syntax such that boilerplate code is not there. And language sounds and looks more like an English language. Then the other thing was he was working at ABC where, he wanted to make these changes, but, he was not really given that freedom. Then at the same time, he wanted it to be extensible. Extensible means you can add on more things to it by the community. And this is where that idea of making it open source stuck him. So he said, I am starting it, but I am not the only one who is going to create this language. The entire world, the developers will join and then they'll keep improving this language. So he had basically these visions. It has to be clear, readable syntax. Support modular and object-oriented programming. I'll explain what object-oriented programming little later. Then it is the complex task can be written in fewer lines in a simple way. And this is the third reason is where it has become extremely popular with data analysis and AI. Because a lot of libraries are there where a lot of things can be written in 1 or 2 lines using those, and then you can get the task done. So this is the third vision he had. Of course, as I told you earlier, it was a hobby project and he started in 1989, Christmas. and then eventually, he made it open source, and he invited the community to contribute. Now, what is that, why is the name Python? So it has nothing to do with, his love for snakes, or there is no correlation whatsoever between snake and Python. Even though the Python logo, you will see that there are some snakes, 4 snakes or 3 snakes in that logo. It has nothing to do with snakes. It is just that there was some British comedy group called Monty Python, and they had some show that he liked. So he just took that word from that group's name, Python. That's it. So this is the context. Now, this is the summary of why he created and all. We have seen this. So now let's get started on, before you begin learning any language. Now, since this video is being recorded after ChatGPT has come, right? So one of the simplest and the easiest thing that you should do is go to any of the LLM. I'm not trying to promote ChatGPT here. You use any of the other LLMs also. You should go and ask which IDE, Integrated Development Environment, is famous for that particular language. The reason is the new languages will keep coming. New IDEs will also keep coming. If I record today with saying, okay, you install X IDE and Y software, and if you are watching this video down the line 5 years from now, probably there is a better tool than what I am explaining. Second point, once you join the industry, maybe your company will say, go and learn this language in 1 month. So what you should do? You should go and ask the LLMs or the search engines, what are the famous IDEs? What is the pros and cons, right? So here it is saying one of the famous IDEs is PyCharm by JetBrains, and then VS Code. Okay. So you can say, give comparison between VS Code and PyCharm. You can say, I am a beginner. Which one should I use? This is one way. Second is, you also see in your company and in your colleagues or students what they use, what is more compatible, because some IDs have some internal tool integrations. So that is also the other point you have to think through. Ease of use. So VS Code beginner friendly, PyCharm slightly heavier, installation size lighter, heavier, performance fast, Python setup needs Python extension, code intelligence. So you can clearly see that VS Code is more simpler and better. The second advantage with VS Code is that if you learn VS Code for Python, you can use the same VS Code for Java, C and other languages, JavaScript and other languages. The ID remains same, just the languages would change. Thus the extensions would change. So it's a no-brainer now that we will go ahead with VS Code for our tutorials. Of course, somebody, if they have learned PyCharm, they can still use PyCharm. See, the programming language content and all won't vary much. It is just the comfort and what you will use. And somebody can say that since Mahesh is from Microsoft, he will be biased towards VS Code because the VS Code is from Microsoft. Definitely, I could be a little biased towards it because I have used it at Microsoft and it is from Microsoft, right? I will leave this decision to you. You try both and figure out what you want to use. So then what should be your next query? You should ask the LLM, give me stepwise instructions to set up Python and VS Code on my Windows laptop. Or you can say, give it for Mac. Then it will give you the detailed instructions how to do it. Why is that I'm teaching you this? Because this will change with time. Things would change. So that anytime you are doing it in your career, at your college, you just run these queries and then follow these instructions. So step 1, install Python. So let's go here and open Python website. Now there is a big confusion here, and if you have not watched my first video, you will not understand this part of the website alone. You want to install Python, but these guys are asking too many questions. It's asking, looking for Python for different OS, for Windows, for Linux, for Mac and other. Okay. I'll just simply click other just to see what are the other languages. So there is Python for Android, Python for AIX, Python for HPUX, Python for IBM, Python for iOS and iPad OS, Python for RISC, Python for Solaris. You can see there are so many Python interpreters. Okay. Second, now when I say Windows, again in Windows, there is a 64-bit and 32-bit. And then there is a ARM. So when it is like this, it means what? It means x86. And when it is explicit, it is ARM 64. How to figure out what to use for your computer? It's very easy. Go to your PC, or you can say my PC, about your PC, and you can see here what is your computer. So my computer here it's an Intel processor i9 and it is a 64-bit x86 processor. In the previous lesson I explained in detail 32-bit, 64-bit, x86 ARM, right? So you have to go to your computer and find out what it is. If it is a Mac, you search in ChatGPT how to do that. Go to your computer and find that information. So identify your processor and identify is it 32-bit or 64-bit. Based on this data, you have to choose the right installer. Otherwise, Python would not work. And I have explained why it would not work in the first video. So what I need to do, I need to choose Windows installer 64-bit. So when I clicked here, what started? It has started downloading Python. Okay. So what happened? Python got downloaded onto my computer. So again, I'll draw the diagram. So you have HDD, hard disk drive. Then you have cloud or the internet. So from the cloud, what happened? Python got downloaded to your hard disk. Does that mean that Python is installed on your computer? The answer is no. Only the package of Python came to your computer. Only the installer came to your computer. So now once it is copied here, now you have to install it. So what does installation mean? What does installation mean? For any software to work, it has to be copied at appropriate positions or places in your hard disk, and operating system had to know certain details about it. How it will know? So operating system has something called environment variables, register. It maintain a log. See, when you go to hostel in the college, when you take an admission, so they will give you some unique ID. They will assign you some room. So you go and stay in that room. They will note down your detail. Like that, when software is to be installed on any machine, any computer, the OS is like the warden of the hostel. So the warden has to know what is the name, where is the file, are there any parameters or configurations that need to be remembered about this software. That is the installation process. So when you did download, what came is just the package. The package delivery has happened. Now you have to unpack it and install it. Okay. So remember this step. When you download it, does not mean that Python is installed. So now I'll open it. If since my machine is a Windows machine, what has happened? There is an executable. Okay. Now there is a challenge. I see that it is AMD 64. Okay. The architecture is still x86. So I am just double checking. To see is there separate Intel one or no. Note that Windows 7 or earlier. Okay. Okay. Now there is a confusion, which is stable release versus pre-release. Okay. Stable release means this is something that is tested and being used. So go with the stable release. Okay. Cannot be used. Note that Python 3.13.4 cannot be used on Windows 7 or earlier. This is another instruction. I on my machine I'm running Windows 11. So it's a higher version. So for Windows 7 and earlier, the Python interpreter is different. Okay. Now you may be worrying, right? Oh my god, it is so complicated. I have to choose from such a long list. Why it is like this? Because the interpreter is on the computer at the destination. So the programmer don't have to worry whether what type of CPU and what type of OS that is going to run on. That is the reason it has so many interpreters. It is like you can compare that to say in India, official languages we have, 18 languages, but in India probably hundreds of languages are spoken. So if you want to travel all over India, every region and every village and town, minimum I think you have to go with 18 interpreters with you. It is same as that. Different computers and CPU type and OSs are so many that you need those many interpreters. It is as good as Bharat Darshan. So now let's go ahead and install it. I double clicked. So once you double click on the installer, now it is opening two options. I'm hoping even for Mac also it will show something similar. So one is saying install now, you don't have to configure anything, you just click. So I'm choosing custom. In that I'm saying I need documentation, I need pip. Pip is an installation package installation tool. I'll explain it. Then it is asking test suite and py launcher. It's okay. Next thing it's asking it's installed for all users, because if you have Windows machine you need that. So when you are choosing this, there is an option called add Python to environment variables. This is only for Windows. Don't get confused for Mac. Now for this one, you have to go, and if you don't choose this, then you have to go and manually do it. For that you say edit environment variables or edit system variables. You open this, and in this you see this environment variables option here at the bottom, and here you have to open this path and you have to say edit this path, and here you have to go and add a new path where the Python will be installed, and in that you will choose a path also. So this is the manual step. If you use direct installation, then you have to manually do this. Okay. Now why we need this environment variables? Because to tell the operating system where is Python interpreter residing on the hard disk. This is why the installation step is important. If you just download Python, does not mean magically the Python will work on your computer. Okay. So I am not doing it manually. I am cancelling this. I am choosing this built-in option. Then pre-compiled standard libraries, download debugging symbol. I am using all of this because when we debug and all, we can see the information more clearly. So where is it installing? It is installing in C program files Python. So in fact, I will remove this also. I will directly install it in C Python 313. 313 is Python 3.13 version. Okay. Now this is the button where we say install and you give permission. Python interpreter, libraries, everything is getting installed. So when this installation is happening, you can go ahead and see what is happening at that path. Okay. So I kept it very on the Z drive. You can see. So you can see that how exe is unzipping and downloading all the files, and it is copying them to this location on your C drive. Okay. And after that, you can also see how it updated that environment variable with that path information. Okay, so once the setup is done, you can see here new to Python, start with online tutorial and documentation. At your terminal, type py to launch Python. Search for Python in your start menu. See what's new, right? So when you click on this online tutorial, it goes to a website called docs.python.org tutorial. Most of the programmers, including myself, whenever we learn language, we go to official programming language guide and learn it because it's faster, it is accurate, and it is thorough. You as an engineer have to learn to use this documentation to learn the languages. Okay, because there will be more languages as we go. You can see the entire syllabus here, entire syllabus of Python, and there is a documentation. Now there is one good news. Since we use custom installation, all of that is also present on your computer now. So you can go here and you can see doc HTML, and here go ahead with your first file. First file is what? Index.html. So let's say you are not connected to internet. You are going to your college in by bus, or you are somewhere in the mountains. You don't have internet, but you want to learn Python. So you can use this documentation to learn Python. So the entire Python documentation with all the links, Python setup and usage, how to do certain things, then installing Python module, tutorial, everything is there locally on your computer. You don't need an internet to, like say if statement, you go here and you learn about if statement. So the very detailed and thorough documentation is available on your laptop, which you can use and learn from. Okay. Now, what was the next instruction? It said go to command prompt. How do you go to command prompt? You go to run and say command. And here you type py, which stands for Python, and you can see that the interpreter is working. Okay. Like you should see a prompt like what you see here. If you don't see that, it means it's not installed. It's not working. Okay. So you can say exit to come out of it. You can say py, or you can also say Python. So both would work. Okay. Or you can also say python.exe. That also will work. What is that you're doing by running that command? You're invoking the interpreter. So interpreter in Python works in an interactive mode. Interactive mode means what? You can say a is equal to 10, b is equal to 20, sum is equal to a plus b, and print sum. So it is as if you are coding one line at a time. So sum is 30. So I'll explain it bit. Hold on to this. Since I wanted to show what is an interpreter mode, I showed it, but don't get confused. I'll come back to this again. You are invoking the interpreter, which is able to understand your language. Okay. Now, how did operating system know where is Python? Now let's go and see that whether it updated the environment variables. So for that, what do? You say edit. You get this edit system variables. So here, click on environment variables, and here you can see in the system variable path, when I edit it, you see that these paths are added. C Python 313 is added. If I go and remove this now, then in the command line, if I go and say Python, then it won't work. It will not know, the operating system or the command line would not know where the Python is. So this is the reason why we add it. Now technically, the Python installation is done. So you have Python interpreter on your machine and it is working. Okay. So let's go to ChatGPT and see the next step. So it says that run the command prompt and find the version. So how do you find the version of the Python installed? You can do like this: Python ---- version. So in the version you have installed is 3.134. Okay. The next one is installing Visual Studio Code. This is an IDE. Okay. So before I install IDE, I would like to show you the demonstration of running Python just from command line. Okay. So I know that you have not learned hello world or anything, but since I know programming, I'll show you a little bit of what it is. So you can just say Python .exe, and people who are on Mac, you have to say Python, that whatever version that it comes with it. So your instruction will have it saying that this is what the command is. Now you declare a variable. How do you declare a variable in Python? You don't have to write int or anything. So you will say, let's say number. You follow what I'm doing and you will enjoy this learning. You say num1 is equal to 10. Then you say num2 is equal to 20. Then you say print num1. Now you say print num2. Now tell me where is this num1 and num2 are stored. Are they stored on this or are they stored on this? What is this? This is RAM and this is your hard disk. So pause for a while and think where this num1 and num2 are stored. So the answer is they are stored here. And when you say sum is equal to num1 plus num2, the result answer is again stored here in the RAM. So then finally you say print sum. You can see the answer, which is 30. Now a student inside you may be wondering, just to add two numbers, why the software engineers have made this word so complicated? Why I have to write so much to just add two numbers or multiply two numbers? Similarly, you can also do this. I'll say answer is equal to num1 and multiplied by num2. And let's say print answer 200. Now I will show you the might and the power of Python, and this will blow your mind. So just tighten your seat belts and be ready to see the demo. This is my num1. This is my num2. Oops, sorry. Okay, I pressed enter early. Let me do one thing. Change the value of num2 again. I think this is a large enough number, right? Now, answer is equal to num1 star multiplied by num2. What will happen? Will you do it? And how many hours or days it will take to do it? Okay, you open your phone, start the timer on your phone. On the count of 3 will begin. 1, 2, 3. It's the answer. So this is power of modern CPU, modern operating system and Python. An unimaginable scale and the speed of computation. So that is why a lot of people say that, the smartphones that we carry in our pocket now is powerful than the supercomputers used to send man to the moon earlier. Look at this. That answer that you are seeing, it was processed in the blink of eye, and look at the numbers. So this is the power of computing now. And this interactive mode is an interesting mode for you to learn Python also. Like many people, I have seen, you can just go to the tutorial here and then start going through these modules where you are saying invoking interpreter, interactive mode. And you can start working through it, like interacting with that, and then, start using, just read here, try it out, read here, try it out. And this can also be a very powerful way of learning this language. You can see that it's hard coded and directly you can put the numbers and output it. Say, one of the way you can do with Python is like this, right? So let's do one thing. So I will directly hard code. I'll say 10 plus 20. You get the answer. So like that, then what I can do, I can, do these numbers. Oops, sorry, there's some special character. Then multiply with another large number. Okay, there was some okay. You can see that in a blink of eye, in milliseconds, you get answers for this kind of large computations. This is another reason why for data analyst data analysis roles or data analyst jobs or programming, Python is being used. In C language, the integer size is only 4 bytes and that comes with some upper limit what value you can store. But Python supports very large numbers. This is one of the primary reason why Python has become very famous for data analysis. There is no limit on what kind of values it can handle. Okay, so we'll have a detailed series or detailed discussion about this, but I wanted to show you this interactive mode. Like, say, you can say print. So you can try out things in this interactive mode. But please remember, interactive mode is only for learning the language. It's not for software, serious software development. It's only for learning the language. Now, once this is done, now let's move on to installing the IDE. So let's go back to ChatGPT and see what were the instructions for setting up. So go to code.visualstudio.com, download for Windows. It's downloading. Again, same thing. It's not installing VS Code, it is just downloading the package manager. So once the VS Code is downloaded, you just open again that installer. So double click the installer and accept that agreement. I would like to change this path because what happens when you are running through command line, right? You have to keep that, it shows that long path again and again. So I would prefer to change it to a smaller path to C drive. You can see that at least 405 MB of free disk space is needed. Then this would be the default name. I'll say create icon, add it to path, all of these, choose these options, then go ahead and install it. So you can see that, the code, that VS Code, all the packages, everything get copied to your C drive, Microsoft VS Code folder. Then finally you say launch it. So this is your code editor. Since I had already it up and running on my machine, it is showing certain things. Let me close it because this may confuse you. Let me close all of this. Okay, I will relaunch it so that you know where it begins. So on your machine, you can now just search for visual. You will see this icon. You can click on this icon and it would open like this. Okay, so this is the IDE or the editor. Now when we initially in the earlier lesson we discussed this with this diagram. So IDE is an integrated development environment. It has editor, it talks to interpreter, it talks to debugger, then it also talks to your hard disk drive to save that. So IDE is a special type of software to develop the software. It is a software to develop the software. And every language, Java, C, every language comes with some IDEs. Some IDEs are complex and very cumbersome. Some are easy and developer friendly. If you want to be a software engineer and if you want to develop software, you have to get comfortable with these tools. This is almost like, your survival tools for a software engineer. So for VS Code, which is an open source IDE by Microsoft, what we did is we installed this. Now let me open a file, new file, and I will say this is a Python file. So what I did, observe here on the IDE, and what I'll do is I'll create a folder here on my machine. Since this is our English series, I have already created a Python folder here saying Python in English. Python in English, this is the folder. Okay, so I would like to create a new file. The Python file has a file extension of .py. Like your images have .jpg, your text file has .txt, ppt has .ppt, something like that, right? So Python has an extension .py. So I'll say new file. Now it is asking what it is. Then I can say Python. Okay. Now when I say Python, initially it is saying untitled 1. Okay. I'm going to press file and save this file to that folder that I was talking about. What is it? C Python, and give this name as hello.py. Okay. Now, what is the simplest thing that you can do in any language is print something on the screen. So in Python, you can directly say it like this. Hello, namaste. So once you write this in the Visual Studio, you see this icon here where you get these options saying run the file or debug the file. So when you click on run the file, what happens is you can see in the console here that it ran the file. And this is where I want you to clearly understand what happened here. I had told you that this software, VS Visual Studio Code, is an IDE. It is not your interpreter. It is not your compiler. It is just an IDE. So what this interpreter did is, here on the terminal, which is also called command prompt, on this terminal you read this line. So this is where the python.exe is installed. And then to that it passed this file name and it ran that code. Now, whether I do it like this or I do it myself, I can still run it. How do I do that? So since Python is already set in my path, it is there you can directly invoke Python interpreter from anywhere you want. Okay. Now I will see what are the files that are available in this directory. So the files available are hello.py. Okay. So now what I will do is I'll run the code directly like this. How? Python.exe. To this exe, I have to give this file input hello.py. And when I do that, you can see quickly, see in the task manager, you will not be able to see it because it happens so fast that we will not be able to see it. But when you run it, within milliseconds it exited, right? So what happened is it ran this python.exe, it gave this file, converted it from high level language to binary, ran that file, and then also got out of the RAM. Now, how do we see that, how do we see that it ran and it was there? For that, what I'll do is I'll use a function where it will wait for the input. Okay. So I'll say number is equal to input, and then I'll say enter a number. Now, what is the input here? Input is a function. Input is a function which helps you to read the data from the keyboard. Now, what is a function, how it does, what it does, everything I'll explain in a separate chapter. For now, you just understand that this is a function which helps you to read the input. Now, same code, I'm going to run it here. Okay. Now, this python.exe is waiting for you to enter the number. Now, go to task manager. How do you go to task manager? This is my mouse here. I hope you are able to see it. Go and right click and open task manager. Now, in this task manager, go and check where is that python.exe. So go to the processes, and now here you can see python.exe should be running here, or else you can directly type here as well. So you can see that this python.exe is actually running. It means it is loaded in the RAM. And why is that? It is saying it is using less CPU or memory. Because why is it saying that? Because right now it is waiting for the user input. Now, once I go and give that user input, let's say I gave a user input, then it exited. Now, if I go and search, okay, 1 second. This is an app history. App history means I was looking in the history at the wrong place. We don't have to look into the history. We should look into the existing process. I'll show the demo again. Don't worry. So I did python.exe. Now you don't see python.exe here. I'll run it again. Now if we go and say python.exe, you can see here that that program is in what state it is. It is running, and how much memory it has taken. You can see all of that detail. So this architecture, it means here the program, the process is running with x64 architecture. It has taken this much memory. CPU, it has taken very negligible CPU, so it is showing it as 0. The status is running and every process has one ID. Like every student has an ID in the class or employee has an ID in employee in the organization, every process will have an ID. So now you can see that python.exe is actually running. Okay. Now the moment I enter the value, the process will exit from the memory. Now you go back to task manager, and in the task manager, now you search for Python. That process is not here, it is missing. So now, do you need Visual Studio only to run it? The answer is no. How? So how to run it is very simple. You close your Visual Studio, or you don't have to close it, it's okay even if it is open, and then you open a command prompt like this, and in the command prompt you have to go to that directory where I have the file. So I have file in C drive and Python English. This is where my file is. So dir command gives the list of files in that. Okay. Now the file name is what? Hello.py, right? So where is the Python interpreter? You can directly refer it as like this, python.exe, and then give hello.py. So now you enter the number. Now also it is running. Now also python.exe is running. Okay. If you have doubt, you can always go to the task manager and check. You can see that it is running. Now the ID is different, process ID. And then finally, let's say I enter some number. It took that number and it exited. In case of C program, you will run the compiler. You will run the compiler and you will convert that C program to an executable. And then you can invoke that executable. If you have written hello, then it will be like hello.exe. So that hello.exe you can run. But Python, since it is an interpreted language, you don't generate exe. Your interpreter is an exe and your file will be a plain file. And this is one of the interesting reason that if you develop the software in Python, you have to give that source code or deploy that source code on the computer wherever you want to run it. Okay. Now coming to the next part, which is I can open Visual Studio Code by this command. I can say code dot. Okay. Code dot and enter. It will open the Visual Studio Code here. Now let me teach you debugging. But if you learn debugging without learning conditional statements and variables, it does not make any sense. Okay. So, but I'll still show you where the button is. Okay. And I'll teach you very brief thing, but we'll learn more in the next session. So let's say you want to run this program one line at a time and see what is happening. Okay. I'll say hello, namaste. Then I'll say welcome to Python. Okay. Hope you like it. Print number entered is num. I've written some lines of code with simple print and input so that I can show you the basic of debugging. Okay. So in the same Visual Studio Code, on this top right corner where you have this play button, you just click the drop down and you say debug Python file. Before you do that, you take your mouse pointer, you take it next to this line number, wherever you see these line numbers, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, you take to the left of it. You see that red color dot appear, you just click there. So once it becomes bold like this, it means you have a breakpoint. Okay. Then you go to this arrow and you click debug. And if you are not seeing this debug and Python options, it means you have missed one of the installation step. You means you have not installed the Python plugin, right? And you install Python plugin and you restart your Visual Studio Code. You do all of that. Then you will see this debug option. So here you go and say debug Python file. So what happens is, now this is like many of you would have seen these driving schools where the student will be sitting on the steering and then the trainer will be sitting on the left side seat, and they will have the pedal, that accelerator and brake control with them. So the debug mode is like that. You have a separate process called debugger that has that accelerator and a brake of that process. It can leave the brake anytime it want, and it can apply the brake anytime it want. And all those brakes and levers are here on the top, the small icons that you see here. So these are the icons that are that brakes and the accelerators of this, and this is the debugging mode. So here I can use this arrow and run one line at a time. And where are you seeing the output? You are seeing this output in the console here. Okay, so I hope the fonts are visible now. So you can see that I am running this yellow line, means it is going to run this line next. So once I run this line, you will see that welcome to Python. Then I'll run the next line, it will see hope you like it. Then this is where I'm reading some value from keyboard, so it will wait. To enter the value, you have to click your mouse cursor here in the terminal and then enter the value and then press enter. Now it came to this line where, okay, there is a spelling mistake, ignore it. Number entered is this one, so it will print that number now. Okay, now why is that it didn't print the number? Because I did one more mistake. You have to add a f here to indicate that there is a variable here. Okay, so let me do one thing. I'll just run this again, and you will see that it print the whatever number that we enter, it prints that. So I'll cover all of this in a next video where we'll go through the detail, but my goal here was to show you that in the same place where you can run the code, you also have a debug option, and you can set this breakpoint and debug. There will be a very detailed video once I teach you variables and conditional statement. I will explain as a part of that video itself how to debug step by step, how to add variables to the watch, how to see those values, how to see the call stack. So I will explain all of that along with those lessons. But this completes the setup of your environment. With this, now another portions that you need probably have to learn along with this is organize your code properly. Like say here, you can create folders and then in that you can add these files. So if you are learning variables, no, let that variables be inside the variables folder. Like say for example, variables, if I go here, you can say reveal in file explorer. So once you reveal once you open it here, you can organize these files in a proper folder structure. This is needed not just for you to learn Python. This is very widely used in the industry. You cannot just throw thousands of files in a directory and keep searching for it. So properly giving the names to those files and these folders is super important. So this is one part. Now what is the other part in terms of debugger is Visual Studio debugger. These controls that you saw just now, they are same for any language you try. On VS Code, you can run code in Python, Java, C, TypeScript, JavaScript. It supports so many languages. And once you learned how to use this IDE, you can learn coding in other languages also. The way you run it, the debug it, everything is same. All you have to do is install those extensions here and install those compilers or interpreters here. If you're working with Java, you need to install Java runtime, which means Java install its compilers. Then if you're working on JavaScript, then you need to install that plugin. So based on your language, your plugins or that compilers and interpreters have to be installed, but the overall control of the tool is same only. And this is how VS Code has become very popular and being widely used. I hope you like this session.